I was staring at a hospital bill for $23,191, and I couldn't believe the charges: $12,000 for a single night in the ICU, $4,500 for a procedure that took 30 minutes, and $2,100 for medications that I'd never even heard of. The worst part? My insurance had already paid $15,000, leaving me with a balance of $8,191. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. You're probably thinking, how did this happen? Well, let me tell you, it's more common than you think. Surprise billing is a huge problem in this country, and it's affecting millions of people every year. In fact, a recent study found that 1 in 5 patients who receive emergency care will get a surprise bill. That's right, 1 in 5. And the worst part is, these bills can be financially devastating. I've seen people get bills for $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 or more. It's like getting a second diagnosis, a diagnosis of financial ruin. Now, I know what you're thinking: what can I do to avoid surprise billing? Well, the first step is to understand your insurance coverage. Know what's covered, what's not, and what your out-of-pocket costs will be. It's also important to ask questions when you're at the hospital. Ask about the costs of procedures, medications, and services. And don't be afraid to negotiate. I've seen people negotiate their bills down by thousands of dollars just by asking. For example, let's say you receive a bill for $10,000, but you think it's too high. You can call the hospital and ask to speak to the billing department. Explain your situation and ask if they can reduce the bill. They may be willing to work with you, especially if you're paying cash. I've seen people get their bills reduced by 20%, 30%, even 50% or more just by negotiating. Another important thing to know is that there are laws in place to protect you from surprise billing. The No Surprises Act, for example, prohibits hospitals from billing you for emergency care at an out-of-network rate. But here's the thing: many people don't know about this law, and they end up getting stuck with huge bills anyway. So, it's essential to educate yourself and know your rights. Now, I want to share a personal story with you. A friend of mine recently received a surprise bill for $18,000. She had gone to the emergency room for a minor procedure, but the hospital had billed her for a bunch of extra services that she didn't even receive. She was devastated, and she didn't know what to do. But then she remembered something I had told her, that she had the right to negotiate her bill. So, she called the hospital and asked to speak to the billing department. She explained her situation, and they ended up reducing her bill by $10,000. That's right, $10,000. She was thrilled, and she couldn't believe how much money she had saved. The point is, surprise billing is a huge problem, but there are things you can do to avoid it. Educate yourself, ask questions, and don't be afraid to negotiate. And if you do receive a surprise bill, don't panic. Call the hospital, explain your situation, and ask if they can reduce the bill. You never know, you might be able to save thousands of dollars. Now, I want to ask you a question. Have you or someone you know ever received a surprise medical bill? If so, how did you handle it? Share your story in the comments below. I read every single comment, and I'd love to hear from you. And if you're struggling with medical debt, don't worry, you're not alone. Millions of people are in the same situation, and there are resources available to help. You can start by contacting the hospital or your insurance company to see if they can assist you. You can also look into nonprofit organizations that provide financial assistance for medical expenses. In fact, I want to share a valuable resource with you. There's a nonprofit organization called the Patient Advocate Foundation that provides free assistance to patients who are struggling with medical debt. They can help you navigate the complex medical billing system, negotiate with hospitals and insurance companies, and even provide financial assistance to help you pay your bills. It's a fantastic resource, and I highly recommend it. So, if you're struggling with medical debt, don't give up. There is hope, and there are people who can help. You just have to take that first step and reach out. And always remember, you're not alone. Millions of people are in the same situation, and there are resources available to help. Now, I want to leave you with a final thought. Medical debt is a huge problem in this country, but it's not just about the money. It's about the stress, the anxiety, and the fear that comes with receiving a surprise bill. It's about the sleepless nights, the worried days, and the feeling of being trapped in a never-ending cycle of debt. But it's not just about the individual, it's about the family, the community, and the society as a whole. It's about the impact that medical debt has on our collective well-being, our mental health, and our overall quality of life. So, let's make a change. Let's raise awareness about surprise billing, and let's work together to create a system that's fair, transparent, and patient-centered. We owe it to ourselves, our families, and our communities to take action. And if you're ready to join the movement, hit like, and let's make some noise. If you know someone who's struggling with medical debt, send them this video, and let's help them take control of their finances. And if you're ready to take the next step, check out our next video, where we'll be discussing the best strategies for paying off medical debt. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. The consequences of surprise billing can be far-reaching, affecting not only individuals but also their families and communities. For instance, a study found that medical debt is a leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States, with over 60% of bankruptcies attributed to medical expenses. This can have a ripple effect, impacting not only the individual's credit score but also their ability to secure loans, housing, and even employment. Furthermore, the stress and anxiety caused by surprise billing can have a significant impact on mental health. A survey found that 64% of individuals with medical debt reported feeling anxious or depressed, while 56% reported having trouble sleeping due to financial worries. This can lead to a vicious cycle, where the financial burden of medical debt exacerbates existing health conditions, making it even more challenging to recover. It's essential to recognize that surprise billing is not just a personal problem but a systemic issue that requires a comprehensive solution. To address this, some hospitals and healthcare providers are starting to adopt more transparent and patient-centered billing practices. For example, some hospitals are providing patients with detailed estimates of their costs upfront, while others are offering financial counseling and assistance programs to help patients navigate the billing process. In addition, some states are taking steps to protect consumers from surprise billing. For instance, California, New York, and Texas have implemented laws that prohibit hospitals from billing patients for emergency care at out-of-network rates. These laws have been shown to reduce the incidence of surprise billing and provide significant financial relief to patients. Another approach to addressing surprise billing is through the use of technology. Some companies are developing platforms that allow patients to compare prices and services across different healthcare providers, making it easier to make informed decisions about their care. Others are creating tools that help patients navigate the billing process, identifying errors and discrepancies that can lead to surprise bills. For example, a company called HealthGrades provides patients with detailed information about healthcare providers, including their costs, quality ratings, and patient reviews. This can help patients make more informed decisions about their care and avoid surprise bills. Similarly, a company called Payoff offers a platform that allows patients to track their medical expenses, identify errors, and negotiate with healthcare providers to reduce their bills. In terms of specific numbers, a study found that patients who used a price transparency tool to compare costs across different healthcare providers were able to save an average of $1,000 per procedure. Another study found that patients who negotiated their medical bills with healthcare providers were able to reduce their costs by an average of 25%. Overall, addressing surprise billing requires a multifaceted approach that involves education, advocacy, and innovation. By working together to create a more transparent and patient-centered healthcare system, we can reduce the incidence of surprise billing and provide much-needed relief to individuals and families struggling with medical debt.